Hello and welcome, everybody. Good evening and happy Monday to everybody, to all of you guys out there. And hi, Instagram. So, Instagram will see me today from a different angle because I have swapped offices with my brother. Thanks here at this point to my brother that I was able to swap my office with him today. So, thank you very much. And I hope you all enjoyed your long weekend because obviously in Germany there was a bank holiday on Thursday and a lot of guys were celebrating it, and obviously a lot of fathers were celebrating this event with their children. So I would like to use this opportunity and start into this week with another episode on this book, and we are nearly done. So I hope you lovely miracles all around the globe have started well into this new week and that you were able to already watch parts 1 to 3 so that you're well prepared to learn more about what is going on in this book. So basically, what the author, Frederic Laloux, is talking about in this book is the development of work culture and company culture. And he had divided, or he has first talked about the different stages that we have already gone through over the times of years, over the ages, over the decades. And now he came to the conclusion that we are currently in an evolutionary stage, which basically means we are still able to shape the future of work. We are still able to shape what new work actually means. And in the last episode, I was talking about 1 or 3 breakthroughs of this evolutionary stage of our work life. So that was self management. And today I would like to go into breakthrough number 2, which is called striving for wholeness. And I will read that out to you. So don't worry if I look down. And here, the basic concept that's is stated is enormous energy is set free when we finally drop the mask, when we dare to be fully ourselves. So, just a little trigger warning for everybody that gets triggered easily by spiritual talk. Today, we're diving a little bit more into that. So, if meditation and yoga and things like that are not for you, then I wish you a wonderful evening and switch to another topic. And also, I would like to use this opportunity at this point. If you have the feeling that from watching my videos, you realize that the work culture that you're in right now, you is not really fitting to what you would like to live, and you need help transitioning and finding out what a good company for you would be, feel free to reach out to me, because that's what my coaching is for. My coaching is designed for you guys to find out what the dream job actually is. And for that first step, we will look into defining your dream job, your dream career life, basically. And simply go to my website, lisajanz.com, and book your coaching with me. I'm available if you need me. And Petra's here. Hi. Okay, so let's take a look at the entire concept of wholeness in the workplace. For some reason, there are subtle pressures in organizations that push almost everyone to wear a professional mask. You can let me know in the comments whether that is actually true for you or not. Do you wear a professional mask at work or not? I know I did a long time. In a nearly literal sense, we see this in the bishop's robe, the executive suit, the doctor's white coat, and the uniforms at a store or a restaurant. The uniform signals a person's professional identity and rank. Would you agree? What do you say about that? It is also a claim to organizations. It's also a claim that organizations make on the person. While you wear this uniform, you don't fully belong to yourself. Now think about that again. Yeah, does that feel comfortable? I don't think so. Does it? Um, so you don't fully belong to yourself. You are to behave and show up not as you are, but in a certain predetermined, acceptable way. What is at play here is a subtle but powerful conspiracy of fears. Organizations fear that if people were to bring all of themselves to work, their moods, their quirks, and weekend clothes, things would quickly turn into a mess. What do you think about that? Do you think that if you were to not wear a suit or would wear your weekend clothes at work, do you think that would end up in a mess at your workplace? Armies have long known that people who are made to feel interchangeable are much easier to control. Employees, for their part, fear that if they were to show up with all of who they are, they might expose their selfhood to criticism and ridicule. That what they show might be used against them at some point. And who wants that? Yeah, that's kind of scary. If you put yourself out there and then you're being laughed at, it's nothing that we want to have in our workplace. It's nothing that we really want to have anywhere in our lives. Many of us figure it's better to play it safe and to hide our selfhood behind a professional mask, to shut out part of who we are when we dress for work in the morning. When I speak, or when the author speaks about this in public, sometimes people tell him, "I'm not sure what you're talking about." Yeah. Oh, and Felix is here. And Bussy is here. Hello, you guys. Um, so I'm not sure what you're talking about. I'm the same at work as I am at home. Well, we can congratulate all of them, right? Because in my experience, or in the author's experience, this is quite rare, and I have to admit I find that very rare as well. So yeah, I just simply see still way too many masks for everyone that they are wearing at their workplace. And that's something that we need to learn to take off. And because we have been wearing our masks for so long, it's getting more difficult for us to taking those masks off. Do you agree? Let me know. So, but the author also tells them that he believes that some of us have been wearing our mask for so long that we have forgotten that we wear it. Yeah, so that can actually happen, that we're not aware of the fact that we're wearing those masks. If we no longer know how to take it off, even at home. And that is where the worst part kicks in, right? If we don't even know how to take our mask off when we are in our safe place, when we are in our home. Let's try to illustrate this. We all have an ego, a part of us that seeks success and recognition, that wants to look good, to win arguments in a meeting, and so forth. And we all have a deeper part, some deeper longings, deeper hopes for our lives, for other people, and for the planet. Strangely enough, in most organizations, we learn quickly that showing up from the ego is acceptable. It's the norm in meetings for people to battle for their point of view, for their career, or for their team's budget, but show up from a deeper place and it won't be long before you feel exposed. That does sound sad to me. Yeah. Okay. Um, let's take another view, another perspective to explore this further. We all have masculine and feminine energies, whether we are male or female. And here the spiritual part kicks in. If you haven't heard of that one, start Googling it. In most organizations today, it doesn't take long to learn that showing up with our masculine energy is valued. It's good to appear determined, to have answers, to be actively building the future. And it doesn't take long for us to realize, albeit unconsciously, that showing up with our feminine energy, again, whether we are man or woman or anything else, doesn't really matter, is not a career winner. Taking care of one another, being reflective, slowing down, sharing vulnerability, these traits won't get you in line for the next promotion. And these traits are female energy. Often they are met with ridicule. And so we all end up appearing much more determined than we really are, hiding our doubts and vulnerabilities, losing touch with an essential part of who we are. Yeah, so basically, we're shutting out or shutting off a part of ourselves and we don't let it in. And there's more we can choose to hide. Let's take another example. We all have a rational and emotional and intuitive and a spiritual side. In most workplaces, the rational is highly welcome. Let's put arguments and data on the table. Emotions? Well, let's not get emotional at work. The intuitive side? You'd better make it hard with facts and figures. And the spiritual side? No, please, let's not talk about spirituality at work. Yeah, so those are sides that actually make us whole, and it's not even discussed at our workplace. And Hira's here. Hi, Hira. Work as a place to strive for wholeness. In the so in this picture that I've just drawn to you, basically you can see that we only show 1/16 of ourselves, of our personality. If so many workplaces feel lifeless, it is perhaps because we bring so little life to work. If we only show 1/16 of ourselves, obviously the 15 other parts of ourselves are shut out, and they are left behind the gate, or at home maybe, or somewhere in the basement. Yeah, and that is obviously an issue, because that's what makes our organizations lifeless and soulless. Now, self management goes a long way toward reducing the many subtle fears people experience in the workplace. When there is no boss to please, no people below to keep in line, much of the poison in the organization gets drained. Organizations find that even with self management in place, being in community is not easy. Yeah, that could be true. And we all have our personal histories, and in the presence of others, we often shy away from being fully ourselves. Again, because we're afraid that they are laughing at us, right? For that reason, some organizations have put in place very deliberate practices that help us feel safe enough to be ourselves. In fact, it goes further than this. They found that work can be a wonderful place to discover parts of ourselves we didn't even know existed. The friction of working with others brings up wonderful possibilities to reclaim aspects of who we are that we have neglected or pushed into the shadows. What happens then is magical. There is a level of vibrancy and aliveness in some of these workplaces that nobody has seen so far, that nobody has seen before. Yeah. So when we go into the basement and find out all of these other 15 parts of our personality, it is for sure that we don't have to turn up at our workplace with only 1/16 of our personality, of our identity, and then we can make our workplace more lively. Okay. This entire concept doesn't have to be difficult. We have grown so used to narrow and almost aseptic workplaces that it feels uneasy. Is this really appropriate in a work context? That's the question here. Yeah. So, for example, allowing dogs or children into the workplace might seem highly unusual. Some people will argue that they distract us from work, but there is actually a deeper reason why we might feel unsure about it. We have found safety in hiding behind a professional mask. Okay. Animals and children uncannily get us to reveal a deeply loving and caring part of us. And in the presence of colleagues, frankly, that can feel vulnerable. But just imagine if not only you, but all your colleagues were showing up in loving and caring ways. How much more would we all enjoy work? How would our relationships, our lives be changed? Hmm? Sounds maybe a little bit abstract, but I like that concept. Existing practices need to be reinvented and new ones added to help us invite one another into wholeness. Recruitment, onboarding, evaluations, these fundamental HR processes can be reinvented in fundamental ways. And that's why I'm so much interested in that book, because obviously I'm an HR lady, and HR processes are what I'm living for. Take recruitment. That's often where the lying starts. So the candidate is showing just the best side of himself, of herself, and also the company. They've even introduced a new concept called employer branding in order to make the company look great. Yeah, and obviously we're just showing our bright sides, but whether that's definitely far-fetched from whole. Yeah. Could we invent a truthful, soulful recruitment process where candidates and employer drop the mask and come from a place of wholeness? For that, we need three different things. We need to create safe space, we need to invite storytelling, and we need to create reflective spaces. Let's start with the safe space, okay? And hello, everybody who is watching tonight. I'm very glad that you're here. We're talking about this book, Reinventing Organizations by Frederic Laloux, and the way how we shape nowadays the future of work. Okay, so showing up whole feels exhilarating and vulnerable. Okay, it needs a space that feels safe. All spiritual and wisdom traditions speak to the fact that we can live from two places, from fear and separation, or from love and wholeness. Our deepest calling in life, these traditions tell us, is to overcome fear and recognize the oneness beyond everything, to reclaim wholeness within ourselves and with the world. Why then is wholeness so hard to achieve and separation so easy to fall into? Hmm. Showing up whole feels risky. We put our selfhood out for all to see and expose this most treasured part of ourselves to potential criticism, ridicule, or rejection. Organizations' primary task is to create a safe space, a space where we feel safe enough to share with others our deepest gifts, doubts, and longings. Now, there are a couple of examples that the author would like to share with us. Beyond values, ground rules to create a safe environment. Creating safe workplaces starts with raising everybody's awareness that our words and actions can create or undermine a safe working environment. Unfortunately, we aren't taught this in school. Yeah, so that's the first step, and that's the most important step for everybody, to create awareness of what is harmful or what is not harmful. Yeah, especially when we're talking with one another. Now, there's a company called RHD, and they have created, for example, a document that is talking about a set of behaviors that colleagues wish to see and what behaviors are deemed unacceptable. Yeah, so now obviously it doesn't really help just to have a piece of paper or a document that states those are the rules, that is what we need to do. Yeah, but it's basically they need to integrate that and follow through with all of these things. Now, the step that was before the teal evolutionary stage was the green stage, and the green organizations have pioneered values based cultures that, in one form or another, often include values such as integrity, respect, or openness. The detailed ground rules in teal organizations essentially take shared values to the next level. Of course, it takes more than a document to bring values and ground rules to life. Yeah, that makes sense. So let's take a look at the reflective spaces. We need reflective spaces for deeper truth to emerge. Wisdom traditions from all parts of the world insist on the need of a regular silence and reflection to quiet the mind, if we are to let the truth emerge from deeper places within ourselves. And for that, we have, for example, meditation, yoga, and walking in nature. And for that, actually, coincidentally, I'm wearing one of my favorite dresses that I got in Thailand, where I learned and started practicing meditation. So some of you might know that I went on a business trip or a workation in January to March, and I've done that before in 2019. Yeah, and that's basically where I just deepened my meditational exercise, but fittingly to our topic today. Wonderful. So many organizations researched in this book have set up a quiet room somewhere in the office, and others organize meditation and yoga classes, for example. These practices open up space for individual reflection and mindfulness in the middle of the busy day. Some organizations go a step further. They also create collective moments for self reflection, which prove to be immensely powerful in building a culture of wholeness and a sense of community. Now, there is one really cool example, and it comes actually from Germany. It's Heiligenfeld, and it's an organization with more than 800 employees running 4 mental health and rehabilitation hospitals in the center of Germany. And they have a whole set of reflective practices. So at Heiligenfeld, it is considered normal and even essential that there be moments for employees to pause, to reflect, to share struggles with colleagues and learn from them. A whole set of practices ensures that space for this is created within life's normal business. So, the company offers every new employee the opportunity to learn to meditate, and every day there is a 30-minute meditation session planned for anyone interested. Hmm. Every employee, cleaning staff, cooks, and everyone else who struggles with an issue can book individual coaching sessions from a surprisingly vast menu of coaching techniques. That sounds like a dream employer to me. All work teams pause somewhere between 2 to 4 times a year to work with an external coach through any tensions or upsets. More unusual, 4 times a year, Heiligenfeld organizes a mindfulness day, a day that patients and staff spend in silence. Staff whispers when needed. It's a day that many employees look forward to. Collaborating in silence brings a special quality to relationships. It requires being mindful in new ways, listening, in the absence of words, to the presence, emotions, and intentions of one's colleagues. That sounds brilliant. Okay. Now let's take a look at storytelling, the third part that is needed in order to create wholeness within an organization. Reclaiming the power of stories. In self managing organizations, as well as hierarchical ones, trust is the secret source of productive and joyful collaboration. Yeah. So, but it's hard for trust to flourish when everyone is hiding to some degree behind a professional mask. Yeah, that makes sense, doesn't it? Our humanity feels cheated. Our humanity feels cheated by the shallow relationships we have when we don't engage with each other at levels that truly matter. Yeah. And somehow, sometimes people have the feeling that all of their relationships feel shallow. And that's just it doesn't feel good. Yeah, it just simply doesn't feel good. If we want workplaces of trust, if we hope for deep, rich, and meaningful relationships, we have to reveal more of who we are. And that happens through storytelling. And there's another cool example for that. Sharing stories can be woven into life at work in many ways. And there is actually another cool example from Germany, and that's the ESBZ or ESBZ. It's a school, and here it says when teenagers step into their power. So basically, what they do is that they have a common meeting once a week. This meeting starts. So every Friday afternoon, the school's big hall is packed with 300 children, teachers, and administrators. So let's go one step back so that you understand who ESBZ is a grade 7 to 13 school in Berlin, Germany, that is extraordinary on many counts. Students self manage their learning to a large degree, teachers self manage too. The school is structured in mini schools of 3 classes and 6 teachers, and so do the parents who contribute 3 hours per month to the school in self managing teams. Students and teachers credit one practice as particularly defining for the school's extraordinary spirit of learning, collaboration, and maturity: the praise meeting, which is entirely prepared and run by students. Every Friday afternoon, the school's big hall is packed with 300 children, teachers, and administrators. And I had been talking in the previous live on Thursday, I think it was, about alternative schooling. And that is one of those schools. Okay. That is one of these alternative schools. So they start the meeting by singing a song together to settle into the community. Then it's open mic. Anyone, students, teacher, or staff, can walk up to the microphone and praise or thank someone. And so it continues for half an hour of praise and gratitude. After the praise comes a moment of constructive criticism. It's called Speak Your Mind. And the gathering generally wraps up with announcements, celebrations, and prayers. Every praise is essentially a miniature story that reveals something about two people. Now think about that, yeah? The storyteller and the person being praised or thanked in their struggles and in their glories. So obviously, both sides, the one that is praising and the one that is being praised, they have a they have a shared story. And now there's one more topic um, regarding meetings. Yeah, so maybe you agree to the fact that meetings can be very boring, or they are boring and draining, or and it's just really, really lame to go to meetings. Now, in self managing organizations, they tend to have many fewer meetings. Meetings are places where our egos often feel like they need to make a strong appearance in front of a group of people we fear looking stupid or weak. And yet, meetings can also bring out the best in human nature. They can be places of true collaboration where everyone contributes from their strength, where we can speak to what we truly care about. Birdsong, for example. So that's basically always the biggest example in this book. So it's this company that is arranged through several teams of nurses in the Netherlands. Birdsong uses a decision making process consisting of several steps that prevent ego hijacks and keep conversations focused. Other methods are very simple. It sounds true. It's another company mentioned in the book. Every meeting starts with a minute of silence. At Favi, another company, another example that was mentioned here, for many years had the practice of starting every meeting with all participants sharing a brief story of someone they had recently thanked or congratulated. So these kinds of practices help to shift the focus away from self-centered goals and towards reconnecting with the broader needs of the organization. Then there is commitment and working hours. Let's honor all the important commitments in our lives. We live in corporate cultures that ask us to pretend that work is the overriding commitment in our lives. Now, with regards to corporate cultures, I found something really interesting on LinkedIn. I'm following a channel that is called the Female Lead, and they sometimes do surveys, and or very often they do surveys. And this survey that I thought was really interesting was the question: what's the main reason you left your last job? Now, you can let me know in the comments, what was your reason why you left your previous job? So there were 15% who said it's salary, 6% lack of flexibility, 8% said something else, and now 71% said it was the work culture. What does that tell us? It tells us that we need a shift. We need a shift in work cultures, and that obviously is also true for the companies to realize, because they are struggling to get employees. Yeah, and they are like, it's urgent that they are changing their work culture. So Laloux knows few managers who would dare to cancel an important meeting for their child's school play, or because a good friend needs help, or simply because the wind today is beyond perfect for surfing, and there might not be another day in the year like this. The few that do cancel a meeting to attend their child's play often feel the need to invoke some false but more acceptable pretext. The cultures in many workplaces ask us to disown some of the very things we care most about. Yeah, so basically, we are not showing parts of our personality at our workplace because we simply wear masks, professional masks, and we are scared of showing wholeness. We are scared of sharing who we really are. And that's why this vulnerability is a really difficult aspect in our workplace. In workplaces that honor wholeness, we can stop pretending that work trumps everything else. We can have honest conversations about all the important facets in our lives. What a relief to be seen in the fullness of who we are, and to discover how rich our colleagues' lives are with commitments of all sorts. The structure of small self managing teams helps in providing flexibility when someone needs to change his or her working routine for something important at short notice. In self managing settings, you can change your working hours when you need to, but you are expected to find a solution to uphold the commitments you have made. This expectation is the flip side of having no centralized HR function. You can't simply file a request with HR and then let them worry about solving the issue. In practice, colleagues tend to go out of their way to help you. They know that in turn you might chip in when they need flexibility. It results in a culture of mutual support where everyone accepts the simple truth that we have many commitments and we want to honor our lives. Some people here, hello. So let me just repeat that because it's really, really important. It sounds really, really good. So it results in a culture of mutual support where everyone accepts the simple truth that we have many commitments we want to honor in our lives. Now, the final thing I want to talk about is performance evaluations. Obviously, annual appraisal meetings are often the most awkward moments of the year. Employees who often have received no feedback during the year are nervous because they don't know what to expect. Managers are just as uneasy as the prospect of a personal, perhaps difficult conversation and often stick rigidly to some assessment grid handed out by HR. Yes, I know because I've handed out those things. Some managers, luckily, put their heart into this, and in some organizations, they even get trained in assessing employees. Yeah, in some organizations, not everywhere. And that's the most difficult part. How do you make sure that everybody is evaluated? Yeah, objectively, not subjectively. Yeah. Um, and yet, because much is tied directly or indirectly to performance evaluation, bonuses, raises, projects, promotions, the appraiser discussion is one tinged with fear. The goal is to establish a dispassionate, objective snapshot of one's performance. Everyone watches his or her words carefully, and the conversation rarely is spontaneous, rarely comes from the heart. No wonder people fail so often to be inspired by these conversations. What would happen if we tried to hold these discussions not from a place of fear, but of a place from a place of deep connection, inquiry, and celebration into what's going really well, and into places where someone's knowledge, experience, talent, and attitude falls short, at least for now, of what the roles require. Beyond the current roles, two colleagues can inquire into even deeper questions. What do I truly long to do? What is my offer to the world? What are some of my unique gifts? What holds me back? What could help me step more boldly into the life that wants to be lived through me? And those are actually questions that are very, very important for you to ask yourself. Yeah. You need to ask that yourself in order to understand whether you feel right at the place where you are in right now in your life, in the relationship that you're in, the family that you're in, the city that you're living in, and obviously the culture, the workplace where you're working in. So let's repeat these questions. What do I truly long for? Or what do I truly long to do? What is my offer to the world? What are some of my unique gifts? What holds me back? What could help me step more boldly into the life that wants to be lived through me? And I know, even if that sounds spiritual, it is very important to answer these questions for yourself, for your sake. So now sometimes I start with a story. Now let's end this session with a story. Sounds True has been experimenting with ways to turn the appraisal process into moments of true inquiry and celebration. So Sounds True is another example of these teal organizations that are showing us how to do it, that are already living up to new standards. In the first step, every employee reflects on his or her own performance and aspirations. based on a list of thought provoking questions. The second step is the most unusual and beautiful. People who work closely together convene as a group. Live and unscripted, they offer everyone in the group, one person at a time, feedback and ideas to further nourish and stimulate their self reflection. Say it's your turn, you take the seat of the feedback receiver. It starts with your colleagues settling into a minute of silence, closing their eyes, and trying to hold you in their heart. Just that aspect is already very, very aware. And that's really, really helpful. And that's something that we should do before we give feedback. That is something that's like taking that perspective, like taking, not having our ego hijack again this session, and taking a step back, taking another perspective, going into your heart, taking a moment of silence and just thinking of, okay, what's best for that person? I don't want to attack that person. I just want to give true advice that is coming from the heart. Yeah. And that's basically, we don't do that because we don't have time for it. We don't make time for it. They aim to let go of any form of judgment. And that's the key. Yeah. Let go of judgment. Nobody needs that. Judgment doesn't help. It doesn't help you. It doesn't help me. It doesn't help anyone in this life. The aim to let go of any form of judgment, to be able to offer feedback from a place of love and connection. In turn, every colleague takes the seat in front of you and shares two gifts with you. The gifts are their answers to these questions. What is the one thing I most value about working with you? And what is one area where I sense you could change and grow? Now just imagine that first question being asked, yeah, or just being answered for you. What is the one thing I most value about working with you? When did your colleagues tell you what they value the most about you? Whenever I'm talking to people, they always tell me that nobody is ever talking about that. Nobody values anybody. Yeah, maybe in secret, but they would never tell you. A note taker transcribes the answers on a large piece of paper that he hands over to you like a gift when the round is done. The experience that sounds true is that people feel held very lovingly in the process, and it's not unusual that tears, well, in gratitude of being seen and appreciated so deeply. All the input received from colleagues helps employees to push and deepen their thinking in a third step, a one on one conversation with a colleague. It sounds true, which still has a hierarchical structure. This colleague is your manager, but in a self managing structure, it could take place with a trusted peer. What do you take away from the discussions? What did you learn? What do you want to pay attention to in the future? And where do you feel called to go? I find this example extraordinary. So the author says that annual appraisals don't need to be dispiriting and lifeless. With the right presence and the right questions, we can turn them into rituals of celebration and deep inquiry into our selfhood and calling. Now, that's actually, those are questions that you can also go through with your partner or your best friend, with yourself. We don't ask these questions enough. Yeah, we don't ask ourselves these questions enough. And again, now, if you do that and you need help, you need an accountability partner in order to go through these questions, you don't have to do that on your own, especially when it's related to your workplace. Simply, you can have me as your coach, book your session with me, book your coaching month with me. You can go to lisaernst.com and simply sort yourself out with the option that you would like to work with me, and I can help you and guide you through that process to actually define what you need in order to feel fulfilled, in order to feel whole at your workplace. Yeah, and that's what I'm here for. I'm here to help you. Okay. And next time we will talk about evolutionary purpose, because that is breakthrough number 3 of Teal Organizations. But tomorrow I will see you all at 7 p.m., hopefully, on all of my social media channels except Instagram. I won't be on Instagram tomorrow, but you can see me on LinkedIn, YouTube, and Facebook at the same time. I am interviewing Manon Liebert, and her artist name is Euphemian Julie. She's a UX researcher, a UX UI designer, and photographer, artist, painter, and simply a wonderful human being. And we have been friends for over 20 years, and she will be my guest. And we are talking about the applications for artists and what you can do in order to increase your chances of finding a job and how that actually works in the creative field. Yeah, landing a job in the creative field, what you need to be aware of with regards to your CV, your portfolio, and so on. So stay tuned for that. Thank you very much for sharing your evening with me. And tomorrow, 7 p.m. German time, I'll see you again. Thank you and have a good night. Bye bye. And bye, Instagram. Am I still live? Hello. Okay. We will see whether that is working. Maybe I'm still here. Hello. Okay, let's see. Apparently, there is a connection issue. Let's see what happens if I leave the studio. Bye bye, guys.